Howdy folks, this is Father Dugan 9000 here, and welcome to another episode of Game Finish Trios, that series where I talk about the games I've played and beaten as part of the Hardcore Gaming 101 Forums Game Finish Challenge. Like with last week's episode, I spend most of this video talking about the Jake Hunter / Saburo Jinguji mobile phone games bundled together in a Nintendo DS compilation title called Memories of the Past. The only one of the four that ever got localized into English, along with a later 3DS compilation title and a spin-off prequel game. It's a shame that so little of the series has been translated despite how long it's been around. Even by fans, there's only one fan translation, a Korean one of a Game Boy Advance game that was done back in 2007. So yeah, yonks ago, and nothing else since. I'm kind of hoping that in doing these videos and talking about these games, maybe more people will hear about them. Maybe there'll be a little bit more awareness than they've had up to now. And, you know, if you can, why not? Heck it, let's go for it. Today's games were originally logged on the 4th of May, 2022. Jake Hunter Detective Story Memories of the Past, Episode 3 Crash and Burn for the Nintendo DS. This is a remake of the third game from the original Famicom Disk System era. It was split into two parts back in the day. Jake and Yulia head out to catch a motorcycle race involving some of Yulia's old high school friends. During the race, her friend crashes his bike, but it turns out to be someone else that took his place. Those friends have suddenly vanished, and the trail soon leads to a murder at a hotel. The victim was also part of Yulia's group of friends, who all seem to be at the heart of whatever's going on. This is another case that takes you off to a new location, which made me think that maybe the series just does this on the regular. That's pretty cool, though I feel like Sateri, which is the weird American localized name they gave this location, isn't particularly well established. I don't know whether it's a place that's very far away or just a different district in the city that the game takes place in, considering the characters alternately mention taking hours to drive there but also heading back to the city, which in my head suggests somewhere nearby. I couldn't quite picture it in my mind as clearly as I could Tsutomo from the second case or Aspicio, and that's something of a shame. But to be fair, it does work quite well as a character-driven story. I particularly dig the greater level of involvement Yulia has once again, considering how much the story is focused on her and her old friends. There's even a couple sections where you get to play as her, using her connections and relationships to talk with people who otherwise clam up around Jake, and that's really cool. Jake Hunter Detective Story Memories of the Past, Episode 4, As Time Goes By, for the Nintendo DS. This is the final remake featured in the collection of the fourth and final Famicom Disk System game, and it does something pretty neat structurally. You play as both Jake and Yulia handling different cases. Jake is asked to find a stolen painting from a family where tensions run high, while Yulia tries to help a young kid looking for his missing mom. Things stay within Aspicio this time instead of heading out to other places, which, alongside the relatively low-stakes nature of the mysteries, gives this a more casual and mundane feel than the last couple games. I'm all about mundane adventures, so I took to this quite nicely. One thing I'm slightly iffy on is that this is definitely the toughest game so far. And part of that is that this has a reveal mechanic, where you point out a handful of facts to accuse a character of something. I found myself getting stuck at these a good bit, knowing what I wanted to say, but not really knowing what the game wanted me to specifically say. That, combined with the long end-of-chapter questionnaires that you have to repeat from the beginning if you get a wrong answer, made for a more mechanically challenging game, but made for one that also kind of annoyed me. The way questions can be worded in such a way that I got tripped up didn't really help with that. But I really quite liked the mystery nonetheless, and the way things play out resonated with me a lot more than I was expecting it to. You know, as I'm going through these things, I'm actually just really digging these Jake Hunter adventures. So much so, I even grabbed the alternate Jake Hunter adventure game off the Switch when it went on sale. That didn't really turn out well. It wasn't the kind of game I was hoping for, mainly in its mechanics, but, you know, that is what it is. At least there's still the rest of this Memories of the Past collection to get through. Lego Island 2: The Brickster's Revenge for the PlayStation. Okay, just to lay this out on the table, this isn't some kind of revisiting of a childhood classic. I'd never even played this one. But I did decide to give it a bash because cool YouTube person Thor High Heels talked about it in a video, and I really liked the concept of the game, especially as they framed it. Essentially, it's an adventure game, but the set pieces are mini-games. You play as a pizza delivery boy trying to collect all the pages of the Constructopedia stolen by the nefarious Brickster. The mini-games are pretty varied and quite easy, but I particularly like how they play into the narrative. So for example, there's a section where you have to fix a bridge by collecting pieces of the bridge that have been blown off, and that results in a diving minigame where you swim underwater to grab those pieces. This is followed by having to grab something back from one of the castles, and you're made to take part in a jousting match against a knight, so then you do a jousting minigame, and so on. Lego Island 2 is just full of this kind of thing. In a way, it's not really that far removed from more famous contemporary set-piece driven games like Half-Life or Uncharted. It's just that the rhythms play out in walking around segments and then minigame segments. I wasn't expecting to like this one as much as I did, so it was quite a pleasant surprise. If you're in the mood for something simpler, but it's got plenty going on anyways, I'd honestly recommend it. Besides, it's only a couple hours long, so you could definitely beat it in a single sitting if you are in the mood for it. Why not? It's a cool little game. And with that, we've wrapped up another episode of the series. I hope that you enjoyed watching, and that you'll tune in for the next video. Thank you so much, and until we meet again, have a wonderful day.